It will, as you pointed out, require systematic change through all of government. In fact, not just through government, but I think through the way we do business with the government. The realities are there. Essentially, and this comes from having written 2 books using classified documents from the government. We know for a fact that even inside the most secretive of agencies, there isn't a centralized database that actually takes it all in. So even if we have an FOI law, what is the system that we can get that in? In the Senate itself, every senator, every case agent keeps their own files. Is there some kind of way to get everything in? So even when you have it, it's still going to be challenging, but it's important to have it. Because we need to go one step further, and it's this. We're still talking about old systems, old technology. With the game changer that's happening now with technology and big data, we need to go one step further, which is, okay, DBM has data up, but it's not usable. It's the flow of information isn't usable for anyone else. Will we move from PDFs to HTML to CSV files? These are all things that still need to go in, and they don't need to be in the law, but they do need to be in the thought processes and in the paradigms of the people who are going to have to implement it. We've signed several NDA agreements where we've seen the state of IT use and understanding. I think we need to push it up much further, because global technology, the technology that's available, can actually provide solutions to many of the huge problems we're trying to solve. Let me go to what I actually prepared for you. Just in summary, the Freedom of Information Law is intended to promote the citizen's right to know what the government is up to. And the whole idea is that openness and transparency will make you more accountable and provide better governance. We've moved to a new level where technology actually pushes this up again. Big data will allow you to see patterns without necessarily even going into granular detail. The FOI bills that exist now accomplish the first goal by explicitly requiring all government agencies, including LGUs and GOCCs, to post information publicly, as well as to supply information upon requests made by citizens. The exceptions, there are some. Information shall not be supplied, such as those involving national security, ongoing police and criminal investigations, and where the right to privacy of individuals are affected. The heads of agencies are empowered to make determinations in cases where the exceptions are being asserted by that agency. The decisions of these heads may be questioned either at the ombudsman or at a trial court. These are 7 suggestions that we have, and we think since Senate Bill 1219 and 217 are basically similar, we focused on 1219. The first is there's a citizenship limitation. The first, why limit it? Why limit the right to information to Philippine citizens? Given that the Philippine government has routine transactions with foreign nationals, including those who invest in, do business, and pay taxes, the need for transparency should not be limited to Filipinos. Besides, foreign research organizations as well as media outlets are at times in a better position and have more experience with FOI requests. The second is the relationship to the Data Privacy Act. The FOI law must clarify and distinguish between FOI requests and those made by individuals under the Data Privacy Act, that's RA 10175. The information that's subject of a DPA request is directed to the individual, while an FOI disclosure is addressed to the public in general. The concern for the privacy of individuals is expressed in Section 7F and 11, can be clarified by stating that the agency should strike a balance between the right to privacy, as expressed in the case law, and the DPA, and public interest. And always, I think what you're always trying to balance is that, where does the right of the individual stop when it fringes on the right of the society? And I think this is something Senator Ejercito brought up. Where do those rights stand? And that's part of, I think, what you can influence in this. The third is presumption. Section 6 creates a presumption in favor of access. Perhaps the language can be strengthened by adding that the person requesting is not required to provide a reason for the request, nor can it be denied for failing to provide a reason, because it just gives too much power to whoever can deny it and the vested interest that may be there. Fourth is the exemption from compliance. Section 10 exempts an agency from complying with an FOI request on the ground that a similar query had just been processed and the reasonable time has not yet passed. The exception is just poorly worded, since the agency is free to interpret the meaning of reasonable time. How do you determine what reasonable time is? If you even look at news agencies, right? It used to be, there was a 24-hour news cycle for print, and that now we're at a minute per minute news cycle. So which time, what is reasonable time in this day and age? There appears to be no justification for denying the FOI request. If a request was just made and satisfied by the agency, then responding to the same or similar request should be easier, not more difficult. So there could be less reason to deny the request. The fifth, the appeal process. The bill provides for an appeal process that burdens the head of the agency with the appeal of a denial of an FOI request. Perhaps the denial should be appealable directly to the Court of Appeals, since the head of agency suffers from conflicts of interest, would have conflicts of interest. The head of the agency must choose between what a subordinate did, the decision of a subordinate, and the demand of a private citizen. I don't know if that makes sense, but for example, last night in Zamboanga, we had the Zamboanga chief of police. He comes out, there's a statement by a superior that says he was hostaged. He comes out, are you hostaged or are you not hostaged? He says, it's up to you to decide, because he doesn't want to offend his superior who came out with a statement earlier. So why give the person, a conflict of interest? It's also cultural, I think. You want to take it to another agency. Where am I? Am I in 5? The head of agency. So a more impartial appellate process can help. 6 is criminal liability. If the FOI law will be implemented properly, stricter, if journalists are being slapped with criminal liability for libel, the FOI law will be implemented, should be implemented properly. Stricter criminal liability should be imposed. The current draft just reinforces the revised penal code instead of imposing liability for non-compliance with the actual FOI law itself. And then the last one is, and again, this is very minor, but it goes to the concerns of journalists. Right now, FOI requests it says it's subject to a 15-day waiting period. 15 days in the time of online news is a generation. I cannot begin to tell you how the lifespan of the news cycle has changed tremendously. We are and that actually helps determine what citizens want. Right now, we have a very demanding audience in the cyberspace. We are the most engaged globally. This is according to ComScore. We're the largest Facebook market in the world. These are things that shift the power balance. So for us, 15 days, a 15-day waiting period is a lifetime. There are reasons to put it in place, but we would like to submit that perhaps news organizations, journalists, not be subjected to the 15-day waiting period. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Maria Ressa. I will ask for a copy of your 8 points. With regards to the 15-day waiting period, that's why there are also suggestions that